I think we should pray for Mike O'Hearn. And it's like every time you talk about him, he gets what he wants, because that's the nature of a narcissist. I just feel sorry for him. Like, I look at his videos and I'm like, this guy is so full of himself that he just can't, he doesn't know anything else. He can't be normal. And it's like, gosh, you feel sorry for a guy like that. It's like, he's the perfect example of, the materialistic side of America, where like it doesn't matter how you get the money, as long as you get the money. It doesn't matter how you get the fame, as long as you get the fame, as long as you get the attention, it's all good, right? And then he just does anything to further build up himself, further build up his brand, which is himself. And it's crazy. And it's like, gosh, you after a while you feel sorry for a guy like that. And then I see some of his new videos where like he got lip filler and Botox and all this stuff, and he looks weird. It looks bad. It's like he looks like a plastic doll. And I just feel sorry for him. I'm like, I'm not trying to sit here and judge him and be like, haha, you look like a plastic doll. It's more like, dude, stop. Stop being obsessed with yourself. Get over yourself. Like, because it's like, he must be trapped. People like that, you have to wonder what they're like in their downtime when the cameras aren't on. It's like he must be miserable, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, I studied psychology in college, and the way the human brain works is people with mental disorders, they can easily just, convince themselves that they're happy, and then they become happy, and it's weird. It's like this weird mental trick. So I don't know, man. And I don't wish him to be unhappy, but it's like, I just, it's almost like just stop following him or just stop paying attention. But it's such a interesting thing because you watch and you're like, gosh, every time he puts out a new video, it's just more Mike narcissism, and it's like the perfect example of a narcissist. And you look at it and you're just like, ugh. But I will say this. I think he is very intelligent, right? He's very disciplined. He's very talented at what he does, right? He's very, and his body looks amazing, despite, of course, being on steroids, right? Obviously, right? We all know. So yeah, there's work that goes into that. There's talent, there's discipline, right? So those are good things. So he has good qualities. It's just like, dude, nobody's fooled. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Smart people are not fooled. Dumb people, are just gonna look. Oh, it's celebrity worship. That's what it is. It's celebrity worship. At the end of the day, he's positioned himself to be famous. He wants all the following. And then he turns around and he craps on his followers, or he craps on people who he doesn't like, and it's just like, it reminds me of that Joe Rogan clip where he was talking about how, when he first went into Hollywood in the early 90s, mid 90s, that kind of thing, when he was getting into Hollywood, how people like he'd be around superstars. He wasn't a superstar himself, but he'd be around them because that's the kind of circles that people in Hollywood. And he said that they were just so narcissistic, and they would find out a way to crap on people around them. They would, put people down, and it's like, you gotta be a miserable type of person to do things like that. I feel sad. I feel sorry for people like that, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know what the fascination is with Mike. It's almost like, hey, you want to. I guess it's a combination of like, when people stop and they look at a train wreck. There's that, and then it's also like, he does have some good advice, for lifting, and there's something about him that's charismatic and confident, and so it's this weird jumbo combination of like being, of interest. Like on the one hand, you're interested in things he has to say about his, working out, because sometimes he has advanced knowledge. Sometimes, the things that he says is pretty good, and then it's also a combination of like, as he's saying that stuff, his narcissism comes out, or this, and he's got this huge ego. I love that word ego when it comes to people like this, big ego. And it's just like, dude, so many people have egos, such big egos, and they're told it's good. Like, oh yeah, it's just confidence, and I'm more confident than you. It's like, yeah, but whatever happened to being humble? Whatever happened to being down to earth? I love people who are humble and down to earth, and people who don't have an ego, and people who aren't narcissistic and they don't behave like that. I love people like that. Does that mean that only narcissists can motivate you? Not at all. Anybody can motivate you. I think a humble person can motivate you. It just matters what, the kind of advice you give, and it matters the kind of life you live. You can be humble and still be a superstar, I think. You can be humble and still be successful. It's just all in how you rock it. It's all in how you do it, but it's narcissists are compensating for something. There's some kind of lack, probably daddy issues or mommy issues. Daddy, mommy didn't love you enough unless you performed, unless you succeeded, or something like that. Whatever, however a narcissist is created, something's wrong. And it's like, so you should pray for somebody like that, and I'm not a good example of much about being a Christian, I admit that, but at the same time I still pray, and just pray for Mike, man. God for Mike, take care of Mike. Bless Mike. Whatever Mike has going on, be with him, That's what I said. That's my prayer. Heal Mike, We don't want to tear him down. We don't want to, on the one hand, it's easy to just, screw that guy, he's a narcissist. But on the other hand, it's like, that's a person, that's a person who has a heart, and hopefully their heart could be healed, and they could live a better life. He's got a family and stuff, and it's just like, you got to stop, man. You got to stop with that plastic surgery. You got to stop with the steroids, because at some point it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work forever, man. It ain't going to work another decade or two. I doubt it. How long can you, these guys who do steroids, they fall off all the time. Now, I know you're probably on a lower dose or whatever, but or you think you got it figured out because you're into the science and you figure out how to heal your body or whatever. But I don't think so, man. I think your organs are taking damage. Anyway, sad, but we all make our bed. We got to lie in it, but maybe sometimes we need rescue. Maybe sometimes people can pray for us. So keep a prayer out, and we should all learn and become better human beings. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Appreciate you listening. Peace.